Okay, so let's unpack a phrase that has been absolutely flooding my timeline lately. You have probably seen it. And if you are like me, you might have even, rolled your eyes at it the first time it scrolled past. Vibe coding.
It does sound a bit ridiculous on the surface.
Yeah.
It really does. It sounds like something a Gen Z influencer made up to sell a course.
Mhm.
Just vibe with the AI and the app will build itself.
Right. It implies this casual, effortless magic. But here is where it gets interesting. We have a stack of research today that suggests there is actually something much more substantial underneath that buzzword. We are looking at a talk and some papers from a researcher named Mordecai.
Who is the lead researcher at Project Hamburg.
And that context matters. Project Hamburg isn't some startup trying to sell us a subscription tool or an API wrapper. They are a nonprofit based in Buffalo, New York, focused specifically on AI and education.
So this isn't sales copy. This is field research.
Yeah.
And Mordecai argues that vibe coding is, well, it's actually a misnomer. He prefers the term coding by reason.
Which is such a critical distinction. Vibe coding implies you're just guessing or, I don't know, hoping for the best.
Mm-hmm.
But coding by reason implies you are applying logic and structure to a process, even if you are not writing the syntax yourself.
Exactly.
So that is our mission for this deep dive. We aren't talking about how to get rich quick or how to build a $1 million app in 4 minutes. This is for the person who feels a bit left behind by all the AI hype. You want to build software, you want to use these tools, but you want to do it sustainably.
Yeah, we're going to look at Mordecai's roadmap for moving from being a one-hit wonder, someone who just gets lucky with a prompt, to becoming a real builder. We'll break down his musician analogy. We'll look at some very specific data hygiene habits, things like the Appendix, and we'll talk about this concept of modular architecture.
Let's start with the philosophy then, the musician analogy, because I think this really helps frame who this is for.
It's the best way to understand the shift we're in. Mordecai compares traditional programmers, the people with computer science degrees who've been doing this for 20 years, to classically trained musicians.
They can read the sheet music.
They can read the sheet music, they know the theory, they know the syntax. If you show them a page of C++ or Python code, they see the structure immediately. They know what is happening under the lid of the piano. They understand the physics of the sound.
And the vibe coders.
They're the musicians who play by ear.
Yeah.
They might not be able to read a single note on a staff. If the code breaks, they can't necessarily go in and fix a missing semicolon by hand because they don't, speak the language fluently.
Mm-hmm.
But they can hear the music. They have rhythm, they have taste, and they can produce a song that sounds just as good as the classically trained player.
But the catch is you actually have to have a good ear. You can't just mash the keys and hope it sounds like jazz.
That is the reason, part of coding by reason. You can't just rely on the tool to do the thinking. And this whole possibility, this playing by ear, is only possible because of how the AI models have evolved.
Yeah.
Mordecai traces this history really well.
It's moved so fast. We started with what he calls retrieval models, right?
Think of that as the Control F era. You give the AI a document, you ask a question, and it finds the text. It was basically a glorified search engine.
Sure.
Useful, but passive.
Then we moved to thinking models.
Like the early GPT-4 or the DeepSeek release,
Yeah.
where the model can actually hold context. It can reason through a problem. It can understand nuance. But now we're in the era of agents.
And I feel like agent is another one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around without a clear definition. What does it actually mean in this context?
An agent doesn't just answer you. It does things. It has hands, metaphorically speaking. It can write a file, execute a command in your terminal, browse the web to check documentation. That is why non-coders can finally join the band. You don't need to know how to write the code to open a file. You just tell the agent to do it.
But this accessibility, it creates a trap. And Mordecai spends a lot of time on this.
Yeah.
The one-hit wonder.
It creates a massive gold rush mentality. You open YouTube and the thumbnails are just screaming at you, I built a sauce in 2 hours. I made $10,000 this week with AI. It creates this pressure to ship.
FOMO. Just pure fear of missing out.
Huge FOMO.
Yeah.
You feel like if you aren't building some complex app by lunchtime, you're failing. And Mordecai's advice is so counterintuitive. He just says, slow down.
Which is hard to hear when it feels like the tech is moving at light speed. Why slow down?
Because if you rush, you might get a prototype working. Maybe you even sell it to a client. But because you built it on vibes and not reason, the moment it breaks, and software always breaks, you are stuck. You don't know how to fix it. The AI is hallucinating because the code is so messy, and you lose the client.
So he's saying the frustrating road of learning the process is actually faster in the long run.
He calls it building muscle memory. You have to be willing to fail. You have to be
Ah.
willing to start a project, hit a wall, and then just put it aside. That failure isn't wasted time, it's data. You are learning how the models think and where they fail.
Okay, so let's get tactical. If we are going to slow down and do this right, what are the habits? Because he talks about hygiene, and usually when people talk about hygiene in tech, my eyes kind of glaze over.
It's the unsexy part that nobody on YouTube talks about.
Hmm.
But Mordecai is really strict on this. Do not lower the bar.
Hmm.
Whether you're building a healthcare app or a tool to organize your recipes, you have to treat your data with respect. If you feed the AI messy data, you get messy code. Simple as that.
But the tip that really stood out to me, and this is something I'm going to start doing immediately, was the appendix.
This is a brilliant little hack. It really is.
Explain how the appendix folder works, because it seems like such a simple thing, but it solves a huge problem.
So imagine you were coding with an AI. You are 3 hours into a session. You've tried 5 different ways to fix a bug. You are frustrated. The AI is starting to get confused. It is forgetting what you tried an hour ago.
Right, because the context window, the amount of info it can remember, is filling up. It's like when you study for too long and your brain just stops retaining information.
Exactly. The AI starts going in circles or hallucinating solutions that you already proved didn't work. Mordecai's hack is to keep a specific folder in your project directory called Appendix. In there, you save your terminal logs, your error messages, and even just your own notes about what you were trying to do.
It's like a flight recorder for your project.
It is. And here is the magic trick. When the AI gets confused, or when you come back the next day to start a new session, you feed those logs back into the model first. You say, here is the appendix. Here is what we did yesterday. Here is the error we hit.
It grounds the AI, gives it a stable starting point.
It prevents the hallucination. It gives the model a source of truth that isn't just its own short-term memory. It's essentially giving the AI a long-term memory that you control.
That is just so smart. And it ties into his other non-negotiable, which is version control.
GitHub. You have to use it, no question.
I think a lot of non-coders are intimidated by GitHub. It feels very developer-y. It feels like something you need a degree to understand.
It can be intimidating, but it is absolutely essential. Mordecai mentions a specific danger that I think everyone has experienced. You have the code working, it is perfect, but you think, I'll just add one more little button.
And suddenly the whole thing crashes.
The whole thing breaks. And you can't remember what you changed. If you don't have version control, you are dead in the water. You need that undo button for the entire project, not just the text file you're in.
So even if you aren't a pro, you need to be able to roll back the clock to a point where things worked.
Yeah, and he suggests using tools like Spec Story or just the built-in history features in VS Code or Cursor to automatically save your chat and file history. You need a safety net.
Okay, so hygiene is the defense. Now let's talk offense.
Yeah.
The models themselves, because I usually just default to whatever chatbot is open in my browser. But Mordecai suggests choosing the horse for the course.
He has very specific preferences based on his testing. And this is interesting because it's not just about which one is smartest. It is about utility. It's about the specific personality of the model.
Right, he breaks it down into 3 lanes. First, the heavy lifter.
Claude, specifically the high-end anthropic models. Mordecai argues this is the best coder for complex logic. If you have a really hard algorithm or a massive refactor where you need the AI to hold a lot of complex ideas at once, you pay for Claude. But it is expensive, so you don't use it for everything.
Okay, so then there's Gemini from Google. Now, this surprised me. He recommends Gemini specifically for the CLI, the command line interface. Why is that?
This is a nuance you only learn by doing. When you were using an agent to control your terminal, say, logging into Amazon Web Services or checking your Google Cloud permissions, the terminal often talks back. It asks yes or no. You ask for a password. It throws a DNS error.
It's interactive. It's not just writing code. It's having a conversation with the server.
Right. And apparently models like Claude or the standard GPT-4 can get tripped up by those little permission gates. They freeze or time out because they are waiting for a big block of text, not a simple YN prompt. Mordecai finds that Gemini is just much better at navigating that messy administrative back and forth.
That's fascinating. So Claude for the deep thinking code, Gemini for the server admin and talking to the machine.
And then for everything else, brainstorming, writing documentation, simple scripts, he says use open source models. Use the cheaper models via OpenRouter or Hugging Face. Save your budget.
That makes sense. Don't use a Ferrari to go to the grocery store.
Exactly. Economy of scale.
Okay, so we have the mindset, the hygiene, and the tools. Now I want to look at the architecture, because this is where he tells us to stop building apps and start building tools.
The Lego block theory. This changes everything about how you approach a project.
Walk us through the email agent example he uses. I think this makes it really concrete.
So imagine you want an AI that checks your Gmail and
Yeah.
drafts replies. The vibe coder way, the bad way, is to go to ChatGPT and say, write me a Python script that checks my email.
And it spits out one giant, unreadable block of code.
A monolith. One big, messy script. If it breaks, good luck finding the bug. And more importantly, you can only use it for email. It is a single-use tool, Mordecai says. Break it down. Don't build an email bot. Build 3 separate tools.
Okay, tool number 1.
An access tool. A small script whose only job is to log into Gmail and get the text. That is it. It doesn't know how to read or reply. It just fetches.
Tool number 2.
The engine. This is the logic that reads the text and decides what to write. The brain, basically.
And tool number 3.
A transfer tool. Something that takes the reply and saves it somewhere or sends it. Could be Dropbox, could be AWS S3, doesn't matter.
Now, why is this better? It sounds like 3 times the work up front.
It is a little more work up front. But let's say next week you have a totally new idea. You want to build a YouTube summarizer. You want to download a video transcript and save the summary to your Dropbox.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
You don't have to write the code to save to Dropbox again. You just go to your library, pull out that transfer tool you built for the email bot, and you just snap it in.
You are building a toolkit for yourself.
You're building assets. Mordecai uses the metaphor of a hut. Don't try to build a skyscraper immediately. Build a small hut, but make the bricks high quality, because you can use those bricks to build the next hut.
That is really the definition of sustainable. Even if the email project fails, even if it never works perfectly, you still walk away with a working login tool or a working save tool.
Exactly. You are never wasting time. You're accumulating code. You are building a library that makes every future project faster and easier.
It shifts the identity from prompter, someone just typing into a box, to architect.
And that leads to his final prediction, which I think is a great place to land this.
He thinks we're in a transition period.
He believes that very soon, maybe a year, maybe less AI, will be robust enough to build from scratch. You will be able to say, build me a social network, and it will actually do it.
Which sounds great, but also kind of scary. If the AI can do it all, why do we need to learn this reasoning?
Well, here's the catch. It will only work well for the people who know how to guide it. The AI will be the ultimate construction crew, but it still needs a foreman. It still needs an architect.
So the people learning these habits now, the folders, the modularity, the logs, they're training to be the architects.
While everyone else is just trying to get a quick hit, the vibe coder of the future isn't someone who just blindly trusts the AI. It is someone who knows how to organize the folders, who knows to keep the data clean, who knows how to snap the Lego blocks together. The AI does the heavy lifting, but the human provides the reason.
That is a really powerful place to stop. If you are listening to this and feeling overwhelmed by the speed of everything, just slow down.
Take a breath.
Just build one brick. Build a login tool. Start your Appendix folder. You aren't falling behind. You are building the foundation.
Don't chase the millions. Chase the mastery.
And we should remind everyone, this insight comes from the team at Project Hamburg Research. They are doing incredible work in Buffalo.
ProjectHamburg.org. Or you can email them at info@projecthamburg.com. They are a nonprofit, so they are really in this for the education.
Thanks for diving in with us. Go build some tools.
Coding by reason. See you next time.